Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, October 1st, 2023. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And yes, another week has passed, and this will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. We'll look at sea ice, methane, and climate-related items for the week, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. And I'm gonna start off with, I put a couple of posts up on my community page this afternoon, and both of them are from National Snow and Ice Data Center, and this was a news release from September 25th, which was Monday, and they said that we've reached minimum extent on the Arctic sea ice for 2023. Look at that picture. A lot of open water there. And it says Arctic sea ice has likely reached its minimum extent for the year at 4.23 million square kilometers, or 1.63 million square miles, on September 19th, 2023, according to the scientists at the National Snow and Ice Data Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. The 2023 minimum is ranked 6th lowest in the nearly 45-year satellite record. The last 17 annual minimum extents are the lowest 17th in the satellite record. And so here's a picture of just the extent for the 19th. And of course it's not counting the open water in between the pieces of ice and things like that. It's just counting every little wisp and everything only as extent, so it's not volume or thickness. And it continues, NSIDC scientists stress that the Arctic sea ice extent number is preliminary. Continued melt conditions could still push the ice extent lower, and that they'll issue a formal announcement at the beginning of October with full analysis of the possible causes behind this year's ice conditions, interesting aspects of the melt season, the setup going into the winter growth season ahead, and graphics comparing this year to the long-term record. So, this is just their news release, and there are more links here if you want to read in further detail, and I'll leave the links below as well. So that was September 19th that we reached minimum extent, and then in the Antarctic, sea ice hits record low maximum extent for 2023. Well, and we knew that was going to happen because it's been at record lows all winter long. Okay, also from Monday, September 25th, Antarctic sea ice has likely reached its maximum extent for the year at 16.96 million square kilometers, or 6.55 million square miles on September 10th. So that was 9 days before the Arctic reached its minimum, according to scientists at National Snow and Ice Data Center. The 2023 maximum is the lowest in the 45-year satellite record. It is more than 1 million square kilometers, or 386,000 square miles below the previous record low maximum extent set in 1986. So, you can also see the holes at the coastlines. See the holes that we've talked about, it being deep ocean heating. That's what Larry thinks it is. And then here's their disclaimer that this number is preliminary and continued winter conditions could still push the ice extent higher, and that they will put out a full formal announcement at the beginning of October. So stay tuned for that. So there's that. So here now we're gonna hop on over to Climate Reanalyzer. We're starting with maximum air temperatures around the world today. We've got see a lot colder air over the interior of Greenland. That's showing like 30 below. These are actual temperatures. And then the colder air or cooler air coming from Greenland all the way across to Russia. And it's still got green on the edges, so warmer on the edges. And then here we've got cold air escaping from the Arctic. When you see the jet pieces, you'll see a little hairpin turn coming right down here, just over the Reno area, just south of Reno, bringing cold air all the way down from the Arctic. And yeah, it's been cool last couple of days, and we've had a little bit of rain. It's overcast right now, but I think the high today was like in the 50s, but it's going to be warming back up this week into the 80s, back up into the 80s by week's end. So just temporary. And then you're seeing the warm air over the middle of the United States, from Canada all the way down to the Gulf Coast, all these Gulf Coast states. Here's the flat view. Here are whites through a lot of South America, and in more southern regions in Africa. It's not actually South Africa, but it's southern regions. And then North Africa is in the whites. Saudi Arabia, India, Australia, look at you, you're heating up into the whites as well. And the whites are translated as 40 degrees C or higher, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly. And see, we can see the blue coming from Greenland all the way across to Russia, then brown on either side. And so we've got blue in the North Atlantic and in part of the Barents Sea. And then heavy brown on the west side of the Arctic Ocean, mainly Beaufort Sea, then browns, and then here's the cold air swooping down on the whole west coast of the U.S. Blue, so colder than normal, and then browns, heavy browns in the upper Midwest and up to Canada. Here's the flight view. Here's the Atlantic view, and see all these browns. See the heavy brown coming down through western Russia and see through Europe, even France, Spain, you're heavy brown, even Portugal. So you guys are heating up, and you'll see that the methane levels have increased in that area as well. Here are browns over Australia, and then in the Antarctic the temperatures have been going down. We still have some browns and hint of red here on this west side. Here's our overview. Worldwide, we're up 0.98 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 1.39 C. The Arctic is up 1.72 C. The Antarctic is up 0.57 C. You can see that's come way down. That had been up over 5 C higher than normal in the last couple of weeks. Southern hemisphere is up 0.57 C. That's come down. And the tropics are still up 0.91 C higher than normal. So we're still seeing these 4 regions close to 1 C higher than normal or more. And now precipitation and clouds. The green is rain, and see we've got rain along in Russia here, along the Russia coastline next to the Barents Sea and Kara Sea there. Then we've got some snow. We've got rain coming up in the North Atlantic, even up to Iceland, also up here in the Baffin Bay, rain. Here's the next system coming in across the Pacific. See, it's hitting Alaska and Canada right now. Here's the system that's over Reno right now. See the rain. And there was some snow in the mountains over the weekend. I think the snow level was around 8,200 feet, so that's about right. And then here's the flat view. And so look at this. Here we go. Here we go. Our atmospheric rivers are being set up early in the season. Look at this across the Pacific. It's over halfway across. Then here comes the next one. So if it's anything like last winter, it's going to be awful. Here are the jet pieces of what used to be the jet stream. So we've got loops up here and then loops further down, and here's this hairpin loop and the cold air coming all the way down on this west side of the US. And then see hairpin and goes back up, then you've got the warm air from the middle of the country over. And here's a hairpin, semi-hairpin here coming down over Africa. Here's the Pacific view. Look at this stray stream coming from the Pacific, from the middle of the Pacific, really. And then all these loops in the southern hemisphere. We'll look at sea ice in a minute. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This is for yesterday, the 30th. And this Arctic Ocean, see, the sun's going down. It's almost completely down. I mean, it's still slowly going down. The dark area is getting bigger. You'll see when we look at NASA Worldview. But in these areas where, you know, it's been in the sunlight for a while, we still have the heat going, and it'll take a while for all this warm water to cool down. So we're like, the dark brown is like 3 to 4 C higher than normal, like here in the Beaufort Sea. Also here in the next to Russia and in Kara and Barents Sea. Also here in the Baltic Sea. Hudson Bay is brown and red, and the Baffin Bay is pretty much all brown now. Here in the North Atlantic, that red blob, the evil eye red blob, has kind of broken up and dissipated. I'm thinking from all the different hurricanes that have been up here in weather systems. It's kind of, you know, brought the warm air up in the system and then brought the colder air up to the surface. So, I mean the warm water, warm air. Okay, I apologize if I'm a little fuzzy tonight. These Great Lakes are all in the browns, and we're seeing colder than normal now off the east coast of the US. But it's still brown here in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the flat view, and here's the Atlantic. It's all in the brown up here. Here's some blue, just west of Africa. But brown is further south. Here's the Mediterranean. It's starting to cool down a little bit, it looks like. but either end is still in the browns. Here's the Black Sea is still solid brown. Caspian Sea is still brown. Persian Gulf is brown. The Red Sea is brown. Here's the Indian Ocean, it's pretty brown. We do have some blues coming in around Indonesia here. And here in the Pacific, here's this brown band. This had been red, but it's gone down to brown on this equatorial Pacific region coming all the way across. And we're still seeing red here in the North Pacific coming away from Japan. Still pretty huge. Red and pink. And like the red is 5 to 6 C higher than normal. Pink is around 7 to 8 C higher than normal. And then here's a blob forming kind of in the central North Pacific. And we're seeing blues now just off the coast of Canada. So there's that. Now we'll go to methane. We're starting with the NOAA methane data for Saturday, September 30th, Met-Op-B satellite in the morning, 1,000 millibar level. The mean average was 1,846 parts per billion. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1849. On the Met-Op-C in the morning, the mean was 1847. And in the afternoon, the mean was also 1847. On the 487 millibar level, Met-Op-B satellite in the morning, the mean was 1927. In the afternoon, it was 1930. On the Met-Op-C in the morning, the mean was 1894. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1895. So these pinks, that's the highest readings. That's 2,000 parts per billion and up to whatever the highest number is here. It's a range, so it's coming pretty far south, see. Okay, now to our chart. We're starting with just the Met-Op-C chart for 487 millibar level. The 30th averaged out to be 1894.50. That was a decrease this week of 1.5. So here's the line going down. So we've had 2 weeks in a row of decrease here. Have we peaked out? Probably not. Usually we'll see the peak mid to late October. And what we've seen in the past is like we'll have a semi-peak in September, and then we'll have a drop for a couple of weeks, and then we'll go back up. And then we'll end up having even either equal to whatever the high was in September, or even higher than that. That's what I've seen is the pattern. So let's see what happened here this week. So here's where we ended in the show last week. We were 1896.0, and we had gone down 2.5 that week. So on the 24th it went down 1.5, 25th up 0.5, 26th no change, 27th up 2.0. We had quite a bit of missing data that day, just some white spots. That's why I put the question marks, but I did count it. And then the 28th no change, the 29th went down 1.0, and the 30th went down 1.5, giving us an overall decrease this week of 1.5. So we can see it, we did some stair stepping here. And for the Met-Op B and C satellites with the 487 millibar level, the 30th averaged out to be 1911.5. That was a decrease as well of 0.75. So 2 weeks in a row. So last week it went down 2.75. This week it went down just a tiny bit, 0.75. So same thing here, just stair stepping. And then 1000 millibar level, which is equivalent to surface level. So the 30th averaged out to be 1847.25. That was a decrease of 1.0 this week. So here's where it went down. And see, it went up for 2 weeks before this week. So surface, I'm seeing that surface level acts quite a bit different than the 487 level, or halfway up level, halfway up in the atmosphere. So there's that. We'll just keep on tracking that, and we're almost to it's almost been a year since we switched over to the new HEAP methane system with NOAA, and so that's why these numbers only go back to October 29th of last year. So it's almost been a year. So once we hit that year mark, we'll have solid data for the whole last year, and we can see how much we went up this year. And so far we've gone up about 10 parts per billion, it looks like, on the 487 millibar. Yeah, well, more than that on just the Met-Op C. 89, no, just about 10. So we'll just have to wait and see, but that'll be a marker for us. So there's that. Now we'll move to the CAMS methane data. This is from Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services out of the EU. And our base time and valid time are both for Saturday, September 30th, and we're starting on the Arctic area and surface level. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're still seeing high readings in the Scandinavian area over to Russia. I mean, it's not a solid blob, but it's pretty near that on some days, and see the high readings spilling over in the Barents Sea. Also in the Kara Sea, we've got high readings spilling over. And not much going on in the Laptev Sea or the East Siberian Sea. That's kind of, pretty calm. We're still having some percolating here at Komsomolets. It comes and goes depending on the day. It's still coming up here at Koktovik, Alaska, and the interior of Alaska is still looking pretty high. Here it is at the beginning with the data. See, it's still high there on the interior. Now Canada, we've been seeing heavy readings of methane. This whole area south of the Hudson Bay and then east, and of course they did get one of the hurricanes, and then they got the rain. There was a big rainstorm that came up, hit New York and came up, and so they got that too, I think. So anytime you have rain and it's still fairly warm, you haven't just hit winter yet, you're going to see higher methane readings because of the extra moisture in the soil. And so we're seeing heavy readings here in the U.S. from central U.S. over. It's almost one big blob. Let's see. Look at this. This eastern seaboard, see, it's one long blob too. So, and see Texas, they got more. So there's that. And now we'll pop to the North Pole view. And we can see most of the northern hemisphere from this vantage point. And here, see, Germany is filled up. France, you're filling up. Here's the UK, Ireland. It's getting higher here in Spain and Portugal too. And let's see where Italy is. Italy is right in here. Northern Italy is high. Here's the Persian Gulf, and we're seeing some lighter readings a little bit as the week goes on, but it's still pretty blobby. Here's India. See, it's filling back up further south. Same with China, and see it spilling over. These heavy readings spilling over the coastlines. This is a sign of very, very high methane. Let's see. And here's China. Look at that wave in the forecast period coming off of China. Southern China. Here it's coming off of eastern China. And see the waves moving out. This is super high methane. When you see these waves like this, I mean, we're just under the dome of all this methane. Mexico, you're filling up. Now we'll go to the global view. And this lighter blue is still our main background color of 1860 parts per billion. We're starting to see more of this, the next shade down, which represents 1840 parts per billion. So this is indicative of the overall decrease in methane for the last couple of weeks. But in some areas it's higher, like, like here in the US and Canada. So, which means in order for the methane to go down, then it's got to go down a lot more in the areas that are not higher to make it have a lower reading, if that makes sense. Okay, there's that. And now we'll go to 500 HPA. We can see the heavier readings are now starting to gather over the Arctic area again as everything's starting to cool off up there. And methane at this level does like the Arctic colder air. It does like to gather up there. 500 HPA. See the red coming further south. See even here's South Africa with red streaming across, and yellows further south. And then total column, and we can see that the long continuous blob of the heaviest methane, that's a little bit lower. It's broken up some. We're still seeing high methane here in the West Pacific, and here Japan, China, India, and Persian Gulf, and then reds and oranges, lots of them. So there's that. And then a couple more things that I track on CAMS every day. This is sulfur dioxide. Look at this up here. I don't know where all this came from. It started, some of it was from a volcano erupting in the Aleutian Islands, but it's not all from that. Look at it. I think some of it is plate movement, and I don't know. See how it's spread out over the Arctic. And we've got new high reading here just east of Japan, and then here in East Siberia. Also down here, south of Australia. So a lot of this can be plate movement. It's just hard to know. Here it is at 500 HPA where it just shot up in the atmosphere. So this is a high reading. See here off the coast of Japan. also here in Russia. But look at all this over Canada. This reminds me of when we had the first lockdown, right at the beginning of the lockdowns in 2021. Was it 2021 or 2020? I think, I can't remember, but we were seeing these really strange high sulfur dioxide readings just show up out of the blue, like over land, and just hang around for days and weeks. And I was thinking it was sulfates falling out of the sky. And we were seeing it. I don't know. I really don't know. Here's the North Pole view. Look at this. See, it's even swooping down here along the Juan de Fuca plate. And we have had activity on the Juan de Fuca plate and next to it this week. So some of this could be plate movement, like I said. Here's 500 HPA. See, let's look at this heavy here over northern Canada. Here's Mexico, Popocatépetl. Look at this. Here's one high reading. This is, where's that? That's in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, actually, it's a little, well, yeah, I guess Gulf of Mexico. Down close to the Honduras. See, look at that. Okay, here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. It's still huge. And it's kind of a egg shape, sideways egg shape today, and covering almost all of the continent. Just this southern part is not under the hole. And this is all in the danger zone inside this black line. And as we zoom in, you can see we are seeing black, which is the lowest reading, until you see white, meaning that it's below what they can register. But see the black splotch here over the center, and that's 100 to 125 Dobson units right over the center part. Then the dark navy blue is 125 to 150 Dobson units, and then the next color up, this kind of brighter blue, is 150 to 175. This next blue is 175 to 200. This kind of purplish blue is 200 to 220 Dobson units. All of these are considered way too thin, in the danger zone. And the sun is up in the Antarctic. I mean, it's still pretty low to the horizon, but it's up now. And so once it starts heating up, this hole will start diminishing, hopefully. But that's just terrible. Look at that. Here's the Arctic ozone. We can see all these greens. There's anything green or a greenish tinge is below average or below a good reading. Solid yellow is 300 Dobson units. That's considered to be a good reading. And then it moves into orange and red as it gets thicker. But a lot of greens. Look at this. Almost all of the U.S. is in some shade of green. Here's the global view. See all the greens? Look at this. Then we have a heavy band that likes to gather just on the outside of the ozone hole over the Antarctic. So this is thicker down here, just from the way it's moved around. Okay, here's the smoke for today. We've got smoke in these Pacific Islands. Here it is over smoke over Africa. Here's South America. Here's the North Pole view. Here I'm going to flip it and we'll zoom in. Look, here's smoke over Iceland. I think that's left over from what came off of Canada. So here we can see it's gone, the fires have gone way, way, way down with that colder air coming down. That'll help with putting out the fires. There's still a little bit of smoke here in kind of central Canada, and then here on the east side, and then here's heavier smoke that's come down over the northeast of the U.S., then over the Pacific. So the fires have gone way down just this week, in the last couple of days. Okay. And that's all of those. Now we'll move into the sea ice portion of our show. And we're going to start with our slideshow from Climate Reanalyzer. This is sea ice concentration and snow cover for today. And where you see the white on land, that's where it's already started snowing. See here. California, look, central Nevada got snow. Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and Montana, y'all all got some snow. And then Canada is getting snow. Alaska. Look at Russia, it's getting snow. Novaya Zemlya got some snow. Svalbard, Iceland, all of these islands. Yamal Peninsula. Anyway, here's where the sea ice is at right now. The extent has started coming back very slightly, and it's starting to thicken up. Some of these bigger holes are starting to fill in, and we're starting to see a little bit of refreeze here on the east side of Greenland. And So let's see what happened this week. Here we were last Sunday. So you can see darker, more blues showing through, so it was less concentrated last Sunday. Here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That was a big difference from Wednesday to Thursday. See, it's starting to fill in. Friday, Saturday, and here we are today. And some of this filling in could be maybe some snow. If it's snow on top of thin ice, then it'll make it look a lot more concentrated. So there's that. And now with the U.S. Navy models, this is Arctic sea ice thickness, and their latest update was on the 29th of September, which was Friday. I can't believe this is October already. I mean, we're in the last quarter of this year, and it has just flown by. Just can't believe it. Okay, so here we are today. Here's some regrowth of sea ice along Greenland. We're seeing a little bit of regrowth here in the Baffin Bay, and in these tributaries you're starting to see whites and light lavenders, so that's some regrowth. And on these edges, it's going to be filling in as this little fringe ice is growing out. And the North Pole is at like a medium purple, which medium purple, it's about 0.75 meters thick. But we've seen the pictures. We know that there's a lot of open water up there. And the bright aqua, that's 2 to 2.5 meters thick, is just a band above Greenland and one above Ellesmere Island, and a little bit of in the Canadian archipelago there. Then it goes down from there. So not much change this week. Mainly some thickening and a little regrowth. So here's the 30-day animation, and this one was updated to the 29th. So the forecast goes out to Friday coming up. So let's watch, see what they're forecasting. So I'd say we're seeing ice drift, just kind of moving it back and forth here in this Arctic basin. And if you look right here, see we're getting a little bit more aqua. Here's some aqua spots coming in, so that's thickening north of Greenland. Little regrowth around the edges, and Yeah, it just is starting to fill in with little filmy ice, little light lavender where you saw holes or white. Although here in the Beaufort Sea, remember the area on the left here is the air is warmer than normal, so where it's colder than normal, like over here on the right, that can regrow easily, but here we're still seeing melting on the west side. See, it's still melting over here. Okay, here's the Beaufort sea ice thickness for the 29th. See, this is open, and this is just barely there ice. In 30-day animation, forecast goes out to Friday, so we're still seeing melting here in the forecast period. See the little light lavender going away, so you know, it may be regrowing on one side but melting on the other. Here's the Antarctic, again for Friday, our sea ice thickness. We've got a funny looking area where it's jutting out, where it's regrowing here, but most of this east side is not much ice out from the coastline. Here in the Ross Sea, we're still seeing open water right along this Ross ice shelf. And the bright aqua, see, wherever you see the aqua, that's the thickest ice. I'm not seeing much green, which is 3 meters thick, just a touch here and there, or reds or yellows. Here's a little touch here on the south side of reds and yellows, but for the most part it's just purple or dark blue, so 1 meter thick and up. One meter to about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. Okay, here's the 30-day animation, and this forecast goes out to Friday. So let's see what's going on here. So we're seeing melting on this east side, with the little area jutting out here. Just across the Amory ice shelf is right in here. And just kind of holding on this west side. Here's the Ross sea ice thickness, and see the white down here. That's open water along the coastline of Ross ice shelf. And then here's some thicker ice moving along the coastline. We've got a little touch of yellow, orangey red, and then some darker red going up to 5 meters thick, just right there. also along the coast over here. Here's the 30-day animation, and again the forecast goes out to Friday. So, just holding. And National Snow and Ice Data Center. And the brown line is where the median is. And now we can say, like on the edges where you see the dark blue, depending on what side is on, like on this west side, that's melting, but on the east side it means freezing, just inching out. We're still seeing not huge areas of concentration, the white meaning fully concentrated. There's still a lot of open water. And here's the extent chart. The blue line is this year. The dotted line is 2012. So right down here where you see the low and kind of flat lines for a day or so, that was where we reached minimum extent, September 10th. And here's the refreeze, and the angle is pretty low. It doesn't look like an enthusiastic refreeze, whereas look at 2012. Once it started, I mean, it just zipped right up. So it looks like we're going to be meeting up with 2012, which is what we've done in the last few years, you know, where we've seen the refreeze. Will be even or even less than 2012 as it's on the regrowth. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Here's the Antarctic, and see the brown lines, that's the median. And here's their extent chart. So back here, oh, you know what? I misspoke on the Arctic sea ice extent. It was September 19th, which was back here, not September 10th. And so here in the Antarctic, they said we reached maximum extent probably on the 10th, which was back here, and it's just been kind of wavy. Then it went down this week, and now we've got a couple of days of little nudging up, little regrowth. I don't know. And here's last year. That last year was a record low. Look how far down we are from last year. And here's the median. So it's record low, definitely. Here's Greenland melting for yesterday, and we can see it's almost all stopped. There's just couple of little areas on the north end where we're still seeing melting here, and one little melt dot over on the northwest edge. Here are the cumulative melt days for this year. So this is where it's still melting. See the black X there? That's 90 to 100 or more days of melting. In the extent chart, and we pretty much bottomed out. And see, it's not a total flat line simply because we've got a little bit of melting, but see, it does typically stop around the end of August for the season. Okay, now we'll go on to NASA Worldview, and here's the Arctic, and you can see the black circle in the center where it's going dark as the sun's going down, and so this will get bigger and bigger all the time. And see, this north edge of Greenland is now in the dark. Of course, this North Pole area is in the dark. So let's turn on sea ice concentration layer and turn on the blue marble. And let's see what the ice has done this week. See, there's still some holes up here. This is in the Laptev Sea, but it's filling in a little bit down here. So let's see what's happened. So our last show was the September 24th. So here we were last Sunday. So see, a lot more holes. See the yellow and green here. So let's see what happened. Here we go. Here's the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. Big change there. See, they're filling in, and it's changing from red to pink, or pink to white, and the white means concentrated, better concentrated. Here's the 29th. Oh, look, reds again. 30th, and here we are today. So we're seeing a little regrowth on this north side, but it's still melting here in this Baffin Bay area. So there's that. And now let's see what we can see on this satellite view. Starting here in the Lincoln Sea, lots of clouds, and the sun is really low on the horizon. Sometimes we can see stuff better because it's not reflecting. There's not that big glare. Oh, look here, see the cracks. Here's the Lincoln Sea. See all these cracks. This is yesterday, and you can see the ice through here. And then see what we can see on the nearest strait. Okay, here's the ice coming down. Some of this could be refreezing. I've got a cloud here. Here's yesterday. See the white? That's the larger pieces. So we're seeing a little refreeze, it looks like there. Here's some refreeze. See here? See the filmy? That's how it starts. Okay, today can't see anything right there. This west side is open still. Here's the east side. And here's the ice kind of refreezing here on the east side. Here's Svalbard. Here's Franz Josef Land. And the ice edge is right in here. Here's Novaya Zemlya. This is all open. Here's the ice, see? And here's Severnaya Zemlya. Okay, so it's pretty cloudy here. Here's the Vovolov ice cap. Well, this is actually a pretty good view. Here's the ice pouring into the water there. The ice cap racing into the ocean. Look at that. That was on the 28th. And here's some little wispy ice starting to refreeze. See? Here it is today. Here's Cumps and Mullets. And then here's this east edge of the ice. And then coming on up. Here's the Laptev Sea. It's still open. You can see nothing happening here. It's too warm to refreeze here yet. And the sun's going to have to go completely down, and then it will take a while for all this water to cool down. I mean, once it heats up like this, it's going to take a while. And here's Siberia. So it's East Siberian Sea. Look at here. Here's some algae. Look at this. And don't remember seeing all that before. So that's a lot of algae there, look. Oh, I got lost. Okay. You know, it just looks different tonight, doesn't it? So here's the Bering Strait. There's algae down here in the Bering Sea. See, here's the Aleutian Islands. Here's Alaska. Here's Russia over here. Yeah, there's a big algae bloom there. I've not really been looking over there, but yeah, you'll have that when these waters heat up. Look, now we have to look through the clouds here, but it's a huge algae bloom. See. Anyway, so here's Alaska. Here's the Beaufort Sea, that's open. See, you can see it's open still. Here it is today. Here's the ice. Where's the ice edge? Right in here. See? Let's go back up here on the north end. And see, there's still, I mean, you really have to use your imagination when you look through these clouds to figure out where the open water is, but it's right in here. I think. There's some, yeah, see the solid white, that's the ice. There's a lot of open water there. So here it was on the 28th. This is a pretty good view. See, you can see a lot of open water. Look at that. So that was Thursday. So let's see. Here, let's see. This was collapsing right at the end too. Look at this, all this open water. And then here we are today. Too cloudy to really tell what's going on. There's still, let's see, a lot of open water here. It'll take a while for it to freeze. And it'll start with the little thin ice. That'll fill in. And then it's got to thicken up. So there's that. Now let's go to the Antarctic. Look, there's just one little black dot right in the center, right at the South Pole, that's still in the dark, but everything else is in the sunlight now. Look at this. And let's start down here. My favorite area to start. Here's Pine Island Glacier. Look at all this open water. This didn't refreeze. And you can You can see on this left side, see it's calving just right up here. There, see this hole is bigger. This is going up. And there's a crack right here where it's going to calve off. You can see that. So here's the sea ice down here where it refroze. And then this is the Thwaites Glacier right here. You can see the texture of the ice here. Here's a cloud covering a little part of it, but you can see where the tongue has separated. Let's see. We saw this last week. It was hard to see through the clouds, but yeah, I see the tongue has separated. See, and it was a little more broken up, but it looks like it's kind of maybe refrozen a little bit. But here, look at all this open water down here. So this is the tongue where it refroze. Look at all this open water. So this is not good. This is to be at the beginning of the melt season. I mean, just right at the end of the winter season, the refreeze, and to see all this open water where these glaciers are. I mean, and these are big glaciers that were just waiting to see them go, and then sea level rise. So this is not good at all. Look at this. And see, here it is open right up at the coastline. Okay, and then coming on up, here's open water. Here's open. Here's the Western Peninsula. Here's the Weddell Sea. So this ice, just next to this Western Peninsula, this is the majority of the thicker sea ice, the aqua, that kind of lasted. It kind of lasted through the winter, so it tends to migrate down towards the ocean there. So here's the Weddell Sea. It's pretty frozen, pretty much all frozen there. See, it goes out here. See the tendrils there. I'm looking for the Brunt ice shelf. Sometimes it's hard for me to see it. Yeah, it's right down here. Right here, okay. Let's see, this open water here. We're looking through a cloud. Here's yesterday, day before. Here's the 26th. Let's see. So this is opening up. Let's see. This is opening up here. This ice shelf goes all the way up here. Here's the north side. Here's the ice up here. Let's see, there's the ice edge. Okay, here's the east side. Here's Avery ice shelf. Here's some clouds. So here's the ocean here. And see, it's growing a little further out here. This is that area where it's kind of sticking out that we saw on the Navy website. And then coming on around, and here you can see how there's very little ice around the edge here on this east side. See, very little. Here's the Totten Glacier. Here's a cloud. It was yesterday. See the open water over here? Open. Open. This is another area where it was too warm for all this ice to refreeze. See, open. And coming around. Okay, here's the Ross Sea. See the ice here. And see right up at the coastline it's open. This is the Ross Ice Shelf. And here is Ross Island. This is probably the best view we've had of this since the sun's come up. Look, no clouds. Here's Mount Erebus. See the little indention? That's the volcano hole. And see that that's the shadow of the mountain there. Here's a shadow. So there's that. And coming around. And then here's the coming back to the west side, you know. That's pretty cloudy. Here's yesterday. Here's the 29th. This is a good view. Look. Let's see. Look at this. This is an extraordinarily good view of the ice here. I mean, it's very rare we get a view like this. Here's that open water. And we're back to where we started from. So, lowest out on record, and this is where we're starting from. And now, let's see what we've got for earthquakes. There are 212 worldwide right now. All magnitudes. These red ones just came in. 5.1 Bonin Islands, Japan region. 5.1 South Sandwich Islands. Now here, look, we've got stuff going on the Juan de Fuca plate. Haven't taken any pictures yet today, but here's 4.7 just on the west side of the Juan de Fuca plate. And we've got a cluster that started yesterday here. This is at the fulcrum point. This is Petrolia in the Ferndale region, and there's only 3 here right now. 4.1. But like I said, they started yesterday, and I'll show you when we turn on 7 days worth on that. So yeah, plate movement, we could definitely see the sulfur dioxide coming up around these cracks from the plate movement. And these are 4s. These are not huge. Here's a 5.3 Sirkarug, Indonesia. China, 4.5 at Oihama, and 4.5 near Quamdo, or Comdo, China. So let's turn on 7 days all magnitudes. Okay, this week we're showing 1,682 earthquakes. Look at all this. We had an unusual one here in the Davis Strait, just off the coast of Canada, 4.2. That came in on the 29th. I would consider that an Arctic earthquake. It's at 50 or 60. Yeah, 60 degrees north latitude. Although the Arctic Circle is up here at, what is it, 60, I think it's 65 or something, 66, but I would consider that. We had some unusual ones. Here was one in Poland, a 4.5 near Pokowice on the 26th. That was only 5 kilometers deep. Spain, 4.0 in northern Spain on the 30th, and then 4.0 in Morocco on the 30th. Here's one off the coast of Turkey at 4.1. So those are some unusual ones. Here's one 4.6 right here in the Gulf of Aden. There are two here, 4.6 and 4.7. That's kind of unusual, and so on. We had, let's see, the big ones. Here was a 6.1 near Luganville, Vanuatu, 127 kilometers deep. This happened on the 28th. And you can see it's in the water. So I don't know if it did any damage. I normally don't follow up on those. The depth was 127 kilometers, so the depth and it being in the water can cut down the shaking quite a bit. These are 4s and 5s. Here's one south of Australia, 5.8. And that's on the Pacific, the Antarctic plate line. Quite a few in South Sandwich Islands. So I'm looking for the bigger ones. Okay, here's one, a 5.4 on the Cocos plate. Let's go. Oh, look up here. Here's one in the Chukchi Sea, 3.9 Point Hope, Alaska. That came in on the 24th. That was last Sunday. So, here in the U.S., look at this Juan de Fuca plate. This is a lot of movement. Here's a 4.1 on the north end on the 25th. 4.7 further south today. 3.4. This was on the 26th. 2.9 on the 27th. 3.7 on the 30th. So see, they're getting more further south. Now look at this. I consider this whole area like the fulcrum point where this Juan de Fuca plate meets with the San Andreas fault line, and there's a lot of pressure put here, and we've seen some big earthquakes in this area, but there are 9 here, and there was a 3.2. Look over here at Willow Creek. That was on the 26th. But it mainly started with this 4.7 at Ferndale on the 30th. And then at 4.2, also Ferndale on the 30th. Just a couple of hours apart there. There's a 2.1, 2.0, then this 4.1 Petrolia. We saw that today, and then some smaller ones. So this whole area is moving. Here in the Pacific Northwest, 51. That's kind of a, well, there's movement. When you see 51, you know there's movement. See, like here's a cluster 9 here at Rainier, Oregon. So when you have a few clusters like that, it adds up. Definitely adds up. So here, this is Mount St. Helens had 11, and see they're in the mouth of the volcano. Look at that. And on the flanks, they're small. I mean, these are microquakes, but it's movement. These are less than one magnitude, but it's movement. And here is Mount Rainier, and it had 3 near the opening. 1.9. That one's a negative 2.1 kilometers deep. So magma's rising there. 1.2 and a 0.5. And so you can just see them dotted around. I mean, they're small, but it's movement is the thing. Look at this. In the Yellowstone area, including Montana and Idaho. I kind of count all of this in the Yellowstone area. 45 this week. Look at there, that's a lot just dotted around. .46. Again, they're small. 1s and under. There's a couple of 2s. About 4 2s. So another cluster. See, right down here. Look at this. This area. This is southern Idaho. Stanley, and so on. So the movement, it looks like, is spreading out. Look at this. See all of these. And here's all of them on the San Andreas Fault. And here's on the Nevada line. Texas was active this week. Oh, here's an unusual one. In southern Arizona, not far from Tucson, just east of Tucson, at 3.1 at Tonka Verde. That was on the 28th. Texas, you had 42 this week. Threes. There's some threes. Yeah. Mainly twos. There were a couple of threes. Some movement there. There's Oklahoma. Oklahoma had 45. So, a few clusters and you'll hit 45 fast. Here's the New Madrid Fault area. There's a few there. Here's Tennessee. Here's one on the coast of Lake Erie. We've seen some here before. 1.8 near Madison, Ohio. So just more of the same. So that's my report for tonight, and to bring it back to a spiritual perspective, we're reading out of the book of Tobit, which is the first book of the Apocrypha, and these were books that were considered to be in the Bible, but they were not included in the Bible. But we can get lots of information from these too. And so we saw last week that Tobias got married, and everything went well there, and he didn't die like the girl's other 7 husbands did. They died on the wedding night. So he didn't die, so they're all happy about that. Tobit chapter 9. Then Tobias called Raphael and said unto him, Brother Azarias, take with thee a servant and 2 camels, and go to Rages of Media to Gabael, and bring me the money, and bring him to the wedding. For Raguel hath sworn that I shall not depart, but my father counteth the days, and if I tarry long, he will be very sorry. So Raphael went out and lodged with Gabael, and gave him the handwriting, who brought forth bags which were sealed up, and gave them to him. And early in the morning they went forth both together, and came to the wedding, and Tobias blessed his wife. Tobit chapter 9. So that was short and sweet, and the angel got the deed done, got the errand run. So I hope everyone has as good a week as you can. It's getting harder for all of us, I know. It's like every week is a little harder than the week before, and then you get a little reprieve, but I think it's just going to get harder until the end, but until Jesus comes. But we need to be focused on God and Jesus, and get your spiritual houses in order. A lot of things are just on the brink of shaken loose. A lot of things that could cause a lot of death, massive amounts of death. Just with some earth changes, massive amounts of death, and other things as well. So You need to be ready for that. So if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend it now before it's too late. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. And I hope everyone has a good week. And Lord willing, I'll be here next Sunday to give you another update. So I love you all. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.